Today we are going to start the new chapter, that is column and struts. So the contents of this chapter are definitions and example of instability, what is the criteria for the equilibrium of column and struts, phenomena of buckling of columns, Ayer's theory of columns, what is the slenderness ratio and the equivalent length, column under the uniaxial load and buckling, Ayer's equation for various end conditions, and we will also derive the Rankine formula, eccentrically loaded struts, and Rankine-Gordon empirical formula. So the initial concept up to the Ayer's equation we will cover in this part. Introduction. So column or stanchion or pillar, these are the general words which are used in our day-to-day life for columns. So the columns in general terms, we can say they are the structural members which are subjected to the compressive loads. These members are given the different situation, different names under the different situation, like I have said, the stanchion, the pillar. Okay. The post is also a term which is used to define a compression member. So the common names as such are column, pillars, stanchion. So all these terms are used for the vertical members in the structural buildings. The structural members which carry the compressive loads may be divided into two broad categories depending upon their relative lengths and the cross-sectional dimensions. So these two categories are, first is column, another is strut. So column, short thick member are generally termed a column, and they usually fail by crushing when the yield stress of the material in compression is exceeded. Whereas a strut is a compression member which is used in the truss, and it is tie as a tension member in the truss. The structural member whose lateral dimensions are small as compared to its length, and they are subjected to the compressive force, is known as a strut. A strut may be horizontal, inclined, or vertical. So vertical strut used in the buildings or frame is called a column. Okay. So other examples can be a piston rod that you see in the case of a engine. So you have a rod which is connecting the piston, a connecting rod, a side link in the forging machines, etc. They mainly fail by buckling, which is sometime before the yield stress when the compression is reached. So buckling occurs because of the following reasons. First reason is the strut may not be perfectly straight initially. There might be some curvature. Second, the load may not be applied exactly along the axis of the strut. So the load may not be exactly along the axis. So if you see, this is a member and a axis is like this. The load should be applied exactly along this. So if it is not, then it is likely to fail. One part of the material may yield in compression more readily than others owing to some lack of the uniformity in the material properties. That means the material property of this strut may not be uniform throughout the cross section. So that may be one of the reasons. Now the classification of the columns. So we can classify into the three categories. First category is short column. So short column is a column which fails by crushing. So we also call it as compressive yielding of the material. Okay. Second is the long column. So they fail by buckling because the length will be very long. So when we apply the load on the both side, so they may take this shape. So they buckle. Okay. So this is also known as geometric or the configuration failure. And third type category is intermediate column. So intermediate column fails by combined action of buckling and the crushing. So when this length is less, so it will be failed by the crushing. So normally this shape will be chair. Okay. So this is known as a failure due to the material crushing and geometrical instability. So intermediate columns are long in between the short and the long columns. So we will say in the future slides the classification as per the length. Now what is buckling? So you see here we are seeing some pictures. So this is a phenomenon which shows buckling. Okay. So this rod or this reinforcement has buckled. So this has buckled, if you see. This has buckled. So when a cylinder member is subjected to an axial compressive load, so it is subjected to the compressive load, you see. Okay. It may fail by a condition which is known as buckling. So buckling is a geometrical instability in which the lateral displacement of the axial member can suddenly become very large. You see, this was a line of the loading. This was a line, but suddenly it has drifted away from this line. So it has buckled. Okay, the lateral displacement has become very large. So now Euler, a scientist, he gave a theory to express these phenomena. So as we know, for every theory there is there are certain assumptions. So before starting this theory, we have to discuss the conditions. So Euler gave a theory which is known as Euler's theory. So according to him, the strut which fails by buckling can be analyzed by his theory. The following section, the different cases of struts will be analyzed. So Euler derived an equation for the buckling of load of the long columns based on the bending stress. So he has neglected the effect of the direct stress, because you see, if this is a column and this is a cross section is say a rectangular. So when it is loaded at the center point, it is P. So direct stress will be equal to P by A. Where A is the cross section of this column. So this will be the direct stress. But in the case of the Euler theory, he has taken the effect of the bending stress, which is sigma B, and it is m upon I into y. Okay. The direct stress induced in the column is negligible as compared to the bending stress. Therefore, this cannot be used for the short column. So he has taken these assumptions. Number one, initially the column is perfectly straight and the load is applied in the axial direction. So it is truly axial. The cross section of the column is uniform throughout. That means the length, throughout the length, the area of cross section is same. The column material is perfectly elastic, that means it obeys the Hooke's law, and homogeneous and isotropic. So perfectly elastic means it obeys Hooke's law. Homogeneous means it is of the same composition, and isotropic means it is having the same elastic properties throughout the cross section. The length of column is very large as compared to its cross-sectional dimension. So as we have seen. So if this is a column, so this length will be very large. If you see here, so this is a cross section. So this will be having a width B and the thickness T. Okay, so this thickness T is very small and B is bit larger, but this length is very large. So this condition is fulfilled. The shortening of column due to the direct compression is neglected. Okay. The failure of the column occurs due to buckling alone. The self weight of the column is neglected. The ends of the column are frictionless. Okay. The direct stress is very small as compared with the bending stress corresponding to the buckling condition. So, three types of end conditions are used. One is a fixed end, another is a pinned end or the pinned end, and third one is a free end. So, there can be three important conditions. In the fixed end, the end is fixed in the position and direction. So that means the deflection is 0, y 0, and if the direction is also 0, that means the slope is 0, dy by dx is 0. In the case of the pinned or hinged, the end is fixed in the position. Okay, so in this case only y is 0. And in the free end, such an end, the column is neither fixed in position nor in direction. So that means neither y is 0 nor dy by dx is 0. So these are the different end conditions which we are going to use for analyzing the Euler theory. So basic differential equation, before we go this, we understand this sign convention. So if a column bends like this because of the loading, so it is a positive condition, and if it bends like this, buckling, so it is a negative condition. So basic differential equation says that EI is a flexural rigidity. Okay, so EI into y double prime. Y double prime is nothing but y double prime is equal to d2y upon dx square, isn't it? So this is equal to the moment at section x. So where y is the lateral deflection of the column at a distance x from the origin, E is the modulus of velocity of the column material, I represents the second moment of inertia about the bending axis, which is the weaker axis, and mx represents the bending moment of the at a distance from the origin. Now the types of column. So based on the end conditions, we have classified them into the 4 parts. Mind you, there were 3 end conditions, but we have classified them into the 4 parts. First case is when both the ends are pinned or hinged. Second is when both ends are fixed. Third is when one end is pinned and another end is fixed. And fourth is one end is fixed and another end is free. So it is a cantilever column also, sometimes we call it. So we will analyze each case one by one. Column 1, case 1, in which you see this is a column, it is the initial position. A is one end and B is another end. So it is having an axial load P. So it is having a length L. Okay, and it is having a from origin position, that is at A, at a distance x, at a moment this y is the deflection. That means the column has been shifted from its original position to y. So let us consider a column of length L and a uniform cross section area which is hinged at both ends A and B. Let P be this P we have discussed is a crippling load at which the column has just buckled. Due to the crippling load, the column will deflect into the curved form, that is ACB. This ACB. Okay. So consider a consider any section at a distance x from end A. Let y is the deflection or the lateral displacement at any section. So the moment due to the crippling load will be m p into y. Okay. So if you put this here, so moment is equal to ei d2y upon dx square. So because of the sign convention it is minus. So ei d2y upon dx square is equal to minus py, that is just now we have seen. So you bring this term on the other side. So we will get this differential equation, that is ei d2y upon dx square plus py is equal to 0. Now you rearrange this, so we will get this form d2y upon dx square p upon ei into y is equal to 0. So this is a differential equation whose solution can be given by this equation. So if you put this as alpha, so this can be written as d2y upon dx square plus alpha y or alpha square. You take this. So alpha is equal to this. Okay. So this you can see here, the equation can be written in this form, where alpha square is this, alpha is this. So y is equal to, the solution of this equation is C1 cos under root of p into ei into x plus C2 sin under root p upon ei into x, where alpha is this. So now these are C1, C2 are the constant of differentiation, and we can find out these constant by putting the end condition. So where C1 and C2 are the constant of integration, the value of C1 and C2 can be obtained. So at the first condition, we put at A, we know x is equal to 0. So if you come here, so here x is 0 and y is also 0. So this condition we are using here, at x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So substituting these value in the above equation, so we will get 0, C1 cos 0 plus C2 sin 0. So this will be 0 and cos 0 is 1. So therefore C1 into 1 is equal to 0. So that means C1 is equal to 0. So now we put the at end B, that is at x is equal to L, y is again 0. Okay. So we put this value in the equation. So this we get 0 is equal to C1 cos into this plus sin into this. So if you put at x is equal to L, okay, so C2 sin this, and this should be equal to 0. This should be equal to 0. So when sin this is equal to sin 0, so therefore C2 is equal to 0. This will be equal to sin 0, therefore C2 is equal to 0. So now this sin L into P upon EI under root is 0. So that means sin 0 is 0, also sin pi will be 0, also sin 2 pi will be 0, also sin 3 pi will be 0. So that means for all these conditions, this quantity can be equal to 0 or 2 pi or 2 pi or 3 pi. So the least value is 0. So we took the you see the practical value, that is because if you put is equal to 0, we are not going to get anything. So it is most practical value. Next value is pi. So if you square on both sides, so you will get L square P pi square upon EI. So this is a formula for calculating the Euler load for the given end condition. So this is an important formula where P is the Euler load and is equal to pi E into I upon L square. So pi is a constant, E is the modulus of velocity for that material of the column, I is the flexural, I is the moment of inertia, and the product is EI is the flexural rigidity and L is the length of the column, which will be, in this case it will be equivalent length. So we will be discussing further what is equivalent length also. Now second condition is when both the ends are fixed. So here we have taken a column AB, a load, axial load is P, the length of the column is L, and because these ends are fixed, so there will be a moment also, that M moment will be there, and if we take a distance x from A, so at x the lateral deflection is y. So we will write the differential equation for such a case. So it will be EI d2y upon dx square is equal to minus Py and plus M, because this moment is also acting. Okay. So if you solve this, so it will be this. So here alpha square is equal to M upon EI. Okay. So if you resolve this, so it will be Py will come on this side and EI will come below this, and it will be like this. So alpha square is equal to P into I. The solution of this equation is given by y is equal to A sin alpha x, B cos alpha x plus M upon EI alpha square, and we can put this value of alpha square here, so you will get this term as M upon P. Okay. So we put the end condition, that is at x is equal to 0. So at x is equal to 0, our x is 0, y is 0. So when we put this 0, so this becomes 0, this becomes B, and this is as it is. So that means B will be equal to minus M upon P when we put the value of alpha square. Okay. So that means we get the value of the constant as minus M upon P. We apply the second condition, that at x is equal to, because this is a fixed end, so at the fixed end we will be having the this slope also is equal to 0. So we have put this condition, so we can write what we did, we differentiated this equation. So this will be dy by dx is equal to 0. A sin cos sin alpha x का हो जाएगा cos alpha x into L minus B into sin alpha x into alpha is equal to 0, because this will be constant, so it is 0. So from here we will get the second constant, that is A is equal to 0. Now if we put the value here, so we will get y is equal to minus M upon P cos alpha x plus M upon P. So we will get this equation. Now at x is equal to L, y is equal to 0. Okay. So at the other end, so we will get y is equal to 0. So we can put this is equal to 0. So that means cos alpha L will be equal to 1 by this condition. So alpha L will be equal to cos 2 pi. Okay. So on comparing, because 1 is cos 2 pi, so you can put this value, alpha is equal to 2 pi upon L. So we can put the value of alpha or alpha square. You see, we know alpha square is P upon EI. So we put the value and we will get this PE is equal to 4 pi square EI upon L square. So you see, this value is different to the case in which we have considered all the both the ends are pinned. Now third case is when one end is fixed and another is hinged. So one end is hinged and another is fixed. So P is the load we have taken, and because of this there will be a moment. L is the length of the column which is given. So it will bend like this. Okay. So to balance this, there will be a R reaction over here. Okay. So we can write the differential equation in this case, EI d2y upon dx square minus Py. So if we take the moment about this. So this is this thing. We take the moment about the point. So r into L minus x. So this will be the condition x, and this will be L minus x. L minus x. Okay. So r will into L minus x. If we take the moment about this, so it will be on this side, and this moment will be on the other side. So we can solve this. You bring this EI below this, and this will give you alpha square, and this EI will turn below in the denominator of r into L minus x. Okay, where alpha square is equal to P upon EI. So the solution of this equation is y is equal to a sin alpha x, b cos alpha x, and r into L into x upon EI alpha square. So it is equal to a sin alpha x, b cos alpha x, and this we can put the value of alpha square here. So we can solve, and the equation will come in this form. So at the one end, the boundary condition is at x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, this term becomes 0, this term becomes b, and when x is equal to 0, so this will become, when x is equal to, it become RL upon p. So you will get the value of p that is minus RL upon p. By putting the another condition, first we do the differentiation of this equation, that is dy upon dx, and we put this is equal to 0. So we get this condition, a alpha cos alpha x minus b alpha sin alpha x minus r upon p. So a is equal to r upon pa. So that means y is equal to r upon pa sin alpha x minus r into L upon p. Okay. So we get this as a general solution for this differential equation. Now we can also put a third condition, that is at x is equal to L, y is equal to 0. So if you see this, at x is equal to L, y is equal to 0 here. Okay. So we can put the value. So it will be 0 r upon p alpha sin alpha L minus r into L upon p cos alpha L. So when you take this will cancel, r will cancel, and you put the value of alpha, so other terms will also go. So you will be left with only tangent alpha is equal to alpha L. Okay, tangent alpha, we will take this term on this side, so it will be alpha L. So now, considering the least value in this case for the tangent alpha, it is alpha L is equal to 4.49 radian. So alpha is equal to, you can say 4.49 upon L. So you can put this value here in the place of the alpha square. So we know that P is equal to alpha square into EI. So you put the value of alpha square. So that means 4.49 this square and upon L. So L square is here in the denominator into EI. So this 4.49, if you square it off, it will come 20.2. Okay, and this can be approximated as, when you multiply this 2 into pi square, so this value is approximated to 20.2. So that's why we can write here as 2 pi square EI upon L square. So the crippling load in this case will be this. So here the crippling load is entirely different. So that means you can see the crippling load will keep on changing, and accordingly this length for which we will be considering the equivalent length, that will be changing. So we will be seeing in the next slides. So the fourth condition is one end is free and another end is fixed. So this type of column is also known as sometimes the cantilever column. So take the y-axis towards right. You take the y-axis towards right for positive value of y. So viewing from the left hand, you see if P is a point load which is acting, so the moment will be A minus y. So if you take here, so this distance will come A minus phi. Okay, so this will give the moment like this. So it will be, so you see, because of this condition, we have considered that this condition will be positive because of the sign convention. So E into d 2y square upon dx square, so m into this. So we can have PA into PY. So we can rearrange this term again. So d2y upon dx square, alpha square y, and we can put this PA on this side. So we can put this alpha square, again the same thing. So we will get the same equation, and in this case it will be this. So putting the first condition, that is x is equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So b is equal to minus a, and at x is equal to 0, dy by dx is 0. Okay, because the end is fixed. So you can differentiate this. So it will be dy by dx, a cos alpha x into alpha. So this term will come. Similarly, the differentiation will be this thing. And here this is a constant, so it will be 0. So here, if you put these constants, so you will get the, by putting these boundary condition, you will get a is equal to 0. And similarly, y is equal to this. So you have put this b is equal to minus a and a is equal to 0. So you got this value. Okay. So considering that means a this will be 1. So 1 will go. So that means the cos alpha L will be 0, or alpha L cos 0 is cos pi by 2. So alpha L is pi by 2 and alpha is equal to pi upon 2L. So if you put this value in this equation, alpha square, so you will get this. So this is a Euler's load in the case of the when one end is free and another end is fixed. Okay. So these four conditions of the Euler's load we have seen. So now what is the equivalent length? We are introducing a new term, and we have used here in the Euler formula, this L is exactly LE. So this is the correct formula for the Euler equation, where LE is referred as the equivalent length of the column, which takes into account the what type of end conditions we are using. The equivalent length for the different end condition are when the both ends are hinged, L is equal to LE is equal to L. Okay. So this we have seen in our equation when we have solved. When the second equation condition, that is one is fixed and another is free. So this is the fourth condition we have just seen. So here you see L is equal to 2L. So if you see here, if you put it is 2L, so it will be LE square. Okay. So LE square, if you put the value of LE is equal to 2L, so it will be 4L square, and this Euler equation will be this one. Now similarly, when the both ends are fixed, there LE is equal to L by 2. So you can put the value in the Euler equation and you will get the same thing. And in the fourth condition, when one end is fixed and other is hinged, so LE is equal to L upon under root 2. So here I have shown the conditions you see when both ends are pinned. So LE is equal to L. When one end is fixed, another is free, so LE is equal to 2L. When both ends are fixed, so LE is equal to L by 2. And when one end is pinned and another is fixed, LE is equal to L upon under root 2. So one has to remember all these conditions while solving the numerical problem or the actual problem in the day-to-day life. So there are certain limitations of this Euler formula. So let us discuss one by one what are the limitations. So Euler formula is derived from the assumptions. So first assumption was the struts are initially perfectly straight and load is exactly axial. So however in practice some eccentricity and some initial curvature will be there because the columns are long. So it is quite possible that the cross section may vary at some length and it may not be completely straight. Second limitation is that no strength property of the material is of the strut is there in the Euler formulae. E is the only stiffness characteristics. Okay, so that is the second limitation, big limitation. And thus a strut suffers deflection before the crippling load, which increases with the load. Okay, because of the strength property factor is not considered. Next is a bending moment acts that causes a failure before the Euler load is reached, and the failure is by stress, bending stress rather than by buckling. Now the critical stress is another term which is defined as the average stress over the cross section. So critical stress sigma c, it is Euler load upon the area of cross section. So we can put this value for the pinned structure, or this is rather a general formula for the Euler equation. So you can put here in place of I, you can put AK square, where K is the radius of gyration, and we also introduce one term which is known as the slenderness ratio. So it is defined as the ratio of the length of the column to the least radius of gyration. So it is the slenderness ratio. It is this ratio which decides which will fall under short columns, which will fall under intermediate column, and which will fall under the long column. So if you put these value here and you take out this K and you introduce this, so you see as this slenderness ratio increases, this crippling stress becomes less. Okay, so this is a big observation we have got. So in order to understand this, we draw a curve of the above equation which is known as the Euler curve. It is ABC. Okay, and E is the, you see this is the threshold. So at this point D, this is the value of E. So let us now try to understand this curve, what this curve, and this at this point D, this value is sigma c. So it is a curve first which is drawn between the yield stress and the slenderness ratio. Okay, so it is a plot of the critical stress versus the slenderness ratio. So curve is entirely by the magnitude of E. It varies by the magnitude of E. So at the higher values of L by K, you see at the higher values of L by K, or for the long columns, okay, the value of the critical stress falls. The critical stress, you see, it is this. So it is very less for the higher values of L by K. That is for the long columns. The condition cannot be improved even by taking the steel, of which is of higher strength, as the modulus of elasticity E does not vary much with the alloy and the heat treatment. So if OD, this represents the yield stress of the material. So maximum value of the Euler formula in the E value, it is E. This represent with the OE. Okay. So OE is the Euler formula cannot be applied if the slenderness ratio is less than OE. That means for the short columns on that side. Okay. So below this, the material will become plastic and will not follow the law. Okay. So that means for the structural steel, mostly we have the value of the sigma C as 320 megapascal, and for such steels the value of E is given 205 gigapascal. So then from this above curve we can say the L upon K is equal to pi. We can make use of this equation. So this will come the limiting value, that is 80. So that means the Euler formula is applicable for the slenderness ratio greater than 80, that is for the steel hinge at the both ends. Okay, so for less than 80 this is not possible. So that means it is applicable best between 80. Okay, so now I stop my presentation over here. We will talk on the other aspects of the column and struts, that is the different type of the formulae, like Rankine formulae, Gordon formulae, and other empirical formulae, and also the secant formulae. So I stop. Thank you for the